So episode 6 and 7 dropped today, but another piece of news dropped today about Raised by Wolves, and that is it got picked up for a second season.
All right.
Yeah, Warner Media has announced that it is their most viewed show on HBO Max, original show on HBO Max, and from week 1 to week 2, it grew 50% as far as viewership. So show's doing well enough that they want a second season. They went ahead and ordered it. We have 3 episodes left of this season, and that piece of news is definitely going to reshape how I look at these last 3 episodes, knowing that there will be a continuation and it's not, a one and done. We hadn't talked about that. I don't even know, Larry, if you knew that. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I didn't. I'm glad it's going to be picked up because there's a lot of missed. Well, I feel like they can't wrap up everything this season for one, and I'm pretty enthralled as it is. While I don't like the fact that we're getting 2 episodes every week, I'm still intrigued enough to watch both. I still have the mentality where I think to myself, the minute an episode ends, well, what happens next? And I click on that second episode. Yeah, so definitely happy to see it being picked up for another season. I wonder if they have a set number of seasons that they want to run this show for.
That was something Spencer and I were talking about earlier today. Yeah, what is the plan? Was there already an outline or an idea for a second season? Yeah, I have no idea.
I think that would help. Like in a preview, and me and Brian talked about this. I think that any show, especially these kind of shows, network comedies and stuff, I don't really give a shit, come the end of it. Like I watched New Girl and the last season was not that great, but I didn't care. I still can watch any season, any episode, and it's still funny. But with a show like this, you don't want to watch just episode 3 of season 4. Like it won't make sense. So for me, if they know exactly how much they're going to run, how many episodes there's going to be, as a network, you should be able to be like, you know what? I can give you this many. Please, wrap your story up in 3 seasons and 30 episodes. Because to me, like I watched Santa Clarita Diet, and when I found out it got canceled, it pissed me off. It like ended on a cliffhanger. Same thing with Altered Carbon. Me and Brian talked about that. You don't want to watch season 2 because shit, there's not going to be any more. So what's the point? So when you have a show like this, knowing that they're going to give you more, helps me to know that they have a longer story mapped out, which is to me a good thing because I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Like I love this season. I love these 2 episodes we're about to talk about. If you're new to the channel, this is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer. We discuss television shows like this. We talk about movies. We're going to spend probably the next 45 minutes to an hour talking about episodes 6 and 7 of Raised by Wolves. We're also currently doing Lovecraft Country. And what's the other one? The Boys, which nobody seems to care, but we're going to keep going. We have a lot of content planned for October, so definitely hit that sub button if you haven't already. Hit the like, the upvote, and leave a comment. Let us know if you agree or disagree with the things we're discussing, our opinions and our theories. Let us know if there's something we missed. There's a lot of great discussions happening over on the Lovecraft Country podcast. So go check that out. And all right. So because it's 2 episodes, we are going to sort of pretend they're one, and we're going to sort of move through the episode as one long episode. I hate that, but that's just the way we're going to do this because both episodes absolutely ended on cliffhangers. And it's, I don't like that they're dropping 2 at a time, but that's how they're doing it. And that's how we're going to address it. So Campion and Paul, 2 of our main characters, they established a friendship in the last couple episodes. Now it's turned into a bit of a rivalry. And you had, the whole religious debate, Paul is devoted to soul and all that stuff. Campion is sort of creating his own religion, his own views. Paul is smarter than Campion. He solves this puzzle in like 10 seconds. It took Campion like 23 minutes. Where do y'all think this relationship is going?
Yeah, Campion's a bitter child, and I just thought it was funny the whole popsicle stick puzzle, like how pissed off he got after Paul solved it in like 3 seconds, made me laugh.
Well, yeah, but like I was saying earlier, that'll happen with any kid that age who's been an only child for that long and has been told that they're special and that they're smart all the time. You're so special, you're so smart. You don't know how smart you are, and if they've never encountered anyone who's a little smarter or talented in different ways or better at them at one or two tasks, then he kind of saw it as him stepping on his toes. He's like, "This is my thing. How dare you take that from me?" He's losing that praise for once, and there haven't been any other children around, so he hasn't learned how to interact with anyone under those circumstances.
I think under any circumstances, he's a bit of an asshole.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Paul creates a trap, and the way in which he does it is he needs the moss or the fungus, whatever that Campion finds, that he's using as a food source as opposed to killing living creatures. Paul takes that food source, that thing that represents his veganism, if you will, and he uses it to create a weapon to kill the very thing he's trying to protect. It was an interesting thing because he took it as a complete, it offended him, it angered him, and there's a similar thing that happens a little later. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but Mother, she uses the pod to relive memories, and there's a positive nature to the device. Marcus is going to turn it into a weapon, a trap. So there's two traps in the episode. There's a lot of symbolism there, and then another thing where there's betrayal. You have Paul sort of betraying Campion in that scene. You have Hunter betraying Father later, and then you have Paul betraying Mother. There's a lot of themes going on, in that episode. Did y'all see all that, or how did y'all feel about all that?
I felt like they were all being assholes. Like Hunter was being an asshole, Campion was being an asshole. But yeah, you could see. To me, the theme was more not necessarily like the traps. Like I saw what you were getting at because we talked about that earlier. But the betrayal part was to me a bigger thing because each one of those traps was not only just a betrayal of the person that they thought they trusted, but of the item itself. Campion talking about the moss and this fungus or whatever, basically helping him be a vegan. He was betrayed by the trap, not just Paul, but Paul created this great thing using something Campion had.
Yeah.
Same thing with the pod or the simulator or whatever. That was something that Mother loved. It was something that gave her a new purpose, new, and we hadn't seen her really be happy. But since she found this thing, she's happy. And even Father said something like that in the last couple episodes, talking about you're different. And she's just like, oh, I just found my creator's love. And now this is something that betrayed her. She dropped her guard down and it betrayed her. And I think that, like you said, that was a big theme of this episode was the betrayal and the traps and everything else.
Well, yeah, and not only that, it was a big betrayal in the way that it was he used something against Campion, not on purpose, of course, but that Campion kind of thought was based on a shared, sort of idea that they had on life, that they both kind of just viewed, the lives of these creatures as something that you shouldn't take, that that they both agreed that the idea of killing was wrong. But what it really came down to was that Paul, more so was like, oh no, I'm not saying I don't want to eat them. I'm saying I didn't want to get my hands. I didn't want to kill these things. He's like, now if something else can do that for me, cool.
I still want meat.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah,
I just don't want to kill it.
Marcus has a very elaborate plan that does not work. He has two plans. One that does. Were you surprised that the episode 6 ended the way it did? I thought they were going to say, when he told Paul, hey, I want to send you back into the camp to steal the eyes, I assumed that would be saved. Like, they were going to build to that he was going to be in the camp for a couple of days and, plotting when he's going to do it. But no, that shit went right, he went right into it. Did you
Yeah, I
think they were
figured
going to
that was
save
going to
that?
be the end of the episode.
Yeah,
I
I
Yeah.
figured
thought
that
I
was
thought it
going to
was
be
going to
it.
cut right there. Yeah. But his initial plan, the one that failed, was to kill her basically, and she was in the pod, and he was going to use the prisoner to fire that laser beam, and then they were going to set bombs off. It was all this shit they were going to do. It went horribly wrong. She started killing a bunch of them. Got back to the camp. Um, Interesting sequence. Yeah, as far as the action and everything. Yeah, what did y'all think of that?
Yeah, during that sequence, it's another example of, my God, what can't these things do? Uh, like they build a race of super beings and just kind of left them on this planet to wreak havoc. But yeah, I kind of figured that would blow up in their face, of course, because it's Mother. It seems like such a big character, and I this didn't seem like the end of her story. It seemed a little anticlimactic if she was going to die there.
And Father was such a badass. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I mean
Yes, yeah,
that I love that character. And my God, when he used the trap, I mean that whole scene.
and yeah, and at that he's just like a service android. At that, he doesn't have natural programming for this, but the way he went through it, just meticulously taking them out, that was an awesome scene.
But I think that goes back to what I've said about Father the whole time is how he's evolving. But this seemed as though he evolved very quickly because at first, and I'll go back to Mother and the trap thing in a second, but when he took off running away from everybody, I was like, did his programming kick in that he's just going to run away? It's like, what about the damn kids? And then all of a sudden, he basically just did a big circle and came back and then started whooping ass. I was like, it caught me off guard that it seemed as though he evolved in the matter of moments. Like this is maybe it was a fail-safe kind of programming, like survival of the fittest type thing that kicked in. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty cool. But when Mother was sitting on the little pod thing and Marcus tried to blow her up, you could see that it was almost like breaking down her external skin or armor, or I'm not sure what her actual skin is, but it was kind of cool because we saw Campion Sturgis or Campion Podmore, whatever his name is. He that's how he caught her initially. So for that to be used against her, it was almost like foreshadowing. They're trying to use something against her again that the person she was visiting used to capture her. But to watch it basically fail.
And that's a good question too. Like, is that something she evolved, or did Campion Sturgis did he set up a defense against that? After he rebuilt her so that she wouldn't be reprogrammed again.
That's probably a pretty good theory, actually. I didn't think about that until you just said it, but it would make sense that he probably added a couple newer kind of
Defenses.
protections. Yeah, because if he did all that work to reprogram and him and any other, because you think the followers of Saul probably they were the ones that built them, so they knew exactly how to kind of take them down because they built them. They knew what their weaknesses would be, so he probably took those weaknesses away and added different ones, because or tried to take all of them away, but he probably did reprogram it so that they wouldn't be as easily deterred.
Right.
But
Last
I love the the boulder thing. She stood up and and that's like Larry. We learn every week something new that she can do, and holy shit, like telekinesis now too. Like she started, like the Earth was rising and fucking boulders picked up, and she was blowing boulders up and chucking rock pieces at people and killing them. It was crazy.
It is one of those things where it's like, holy crap, what can't she do? Like, but and that's my question too. It's like, can they reprogram her? Because she mentioned herself that any attempt to reprogram her would be a waste of time. Here's my question, because we don't have a lot of backstory on Campion Sturgis. Like, we don't know. We know that he was a follower of Saul that defected, but he seems to have a lot of knowledge about robotics and everything, and because clearly he reprogrammed her over time, but they're having a hard time reprogramming, resetting her original programming. Is Campion Sturgis, is he the guy who created the necromancers? And did he defect after making these things and just seeing the carnage that they can unleash?
Yeah, like you said, there's not much we know really about him other than, literally a couple scenes, a couple lines of dialogue. We know that he was really intelligent. We also know that he came from a very prominent family on the religious side. So, yeah, in other words, could maybe his family had ties to building those kind of machines. Maybe he was from that caste, or they have this weird their system.
Well, yeah, I'm saying it could be that, or it could be, he could be the person who developed the necromancers. The few that they did have, and upon seeing what they've done, he may have defected then and there and decided to never make another.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. There's no.
It's hard to say, because
there's 147 necromancers. We're only accounted for one of them so far, so there's going to be a whole military ship that's going to come down, and she's going to kill all of them.
The simulation scene. Last week you had said that there was you thought there was not a virus, but you thought there was some kind of AI or something in the ship. And this week she questions it, whether or not it's a virus. Clearly something's manipulating it and guiding it, but as far as what that is, I don't know. And this was the first time, I think, in the entire series that whatever this force is was guiding her towards the destruction of people, because it said, humans are going to keep killing themselves. You're the thing that's special. And sort of propping up the idea of the android, not the human.
Right. And that begs the question, especially, well, since we saw another character get a similar message, kind of similar to what she's saying. Is this something that believes that she is special because she's an android, or is it something that's just trying to get them to destroy themselves? And yet there's another voice that's trying to get. Well, actually, yeah. I guess it's kind of in coordination with whatever Caleb's hearing, because anytime he tries to destroy her, he hears that he needs to let her live. So my question would be, what is it that finds her to be significant or special, and does whatever force that's manipulating them, does it truly believe that, or is she a means to an end for them?
I'm not sure if. Sorry, I'm opening a thing of cheesecake.
You can eat entire cheesecake right now.
Maybe you shut your mouth.
What kind?
The New York, just regular.
Oh, boo.
Oh yeah, I know.
No strawberries.
No strawberries. Someone's making a Oreo cheesecake though, so I'll make that one a little bit. Have 2 cheesecakes, but we haven't talked about it yet. But the voices that Campion was hearing, how it was basically kill yourself, and there's like a noose, and there's these different things going on. So
Well, yeah, that's
So
that's the
two
thing I'm
different-
wondering. Yeah, is
I know. But
like
you said that the one voice that was basically telling him not to kill Mother and Mother, you're the best, is the same voice, and Campion's hearing something else.
well, yeah, and
Correct?
that's what, yeah, well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm curious about. Is he hearing something else,
Well,
or is he hearing the same
I-
voice? Does it?
I think that's the same. I don't know if it's the same voice. I think that's what's confusing. Up until now, all of the voices or all the guidance, if you will, seem to be positive, are
Yeah.
guiding everyone into a positive direction. These episodes were the first time where it was not positive. It was very much kill the humans. Humans need to die. And that was the first time, I noticed that, and I was like, huh, it almost felt like either potentially there's two opposing forces involved in all this, or maybe this was always the plan. There's just one force, and it just needed it to get to this point in order to, push the rest of the plan. I don't know.
Well, yeah. To clarify, that's actually more what I mean. I mean, like, is it the same voice that's telling Campion to kill himself that's telling Mother that she's special? Like, I still think there's multiple factions here, but
Well-
does this, whatever this force is, does it see Campion as maybe a weakness or a thing that's holding her back?
I was just thinking, if you think like Campion, he feels like he's weak, or this voice, not Campion himself, but I think that he's almost like pandering to people, the voices. You look at what he did with Marcus. He's making Marcus feel as though he's special. Towards the end of, I think, 7, he said something about how the prophecy is about him. So it's almost as though they are pandering to the characters to try and get what it is that they want. So I don't know necessarily that it's separate voices, or if it's one entity trying to play everybody how they need them to be played. And right now, I think he wants Campion out of the way. However, he may feel like he needs the other two, or she, or it, or I don't know what the thing is, but
And I'm very curious if we're going to get any clarity on that by the end of this season.
I know there's a season 2, but God, I hope there's at least a little bit of clarity.
One of the things last week's episode was the vision or the premonition that Marcus had, and he saw the scalpel, and he sees it this week, in these episodes, and he freaks out. He's like, "Oh shit, that's the scalpel." Mother has what appears to be a similar situation. She's in the simulation. She's she's being asked directly, "What do you want?" And I want you. And she's having her little love scene with Sturgis, and then the ceiling, you have the sky thing, which was similar to what Marcus saw, but then it starts raining, android blood.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, she's lying on the ground staring at the sky covered in android blood. Was that a vision of what was to come? And if the answer is yes, how? We discussed this last week. Is this something that's just being guided towards, or is there a time travel? I know I keep saying time travel, but clearly someone seems to know
because
something.
it's definitely a possibility. They either know the future or they're shaping the future.
Exactly. I would exactly one of the two. But yeah, we have more of that.
Shaping. I think it's more shaping than anything.
Like at this point, it's real murky. It's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, because they're manipulating things from so many sides that shaping the future would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be
shown
the easiest thing to do if I could basically tell you something, Larry, and then tell Brian something similar,
and
then get you guys to do what I want. It would feel like I knew the future, but
and we know both groups are being watched, right? So, they likely saw Mother shape the scalpel. They set things up so that he would find that scalpel. They planted the vision in his head that he would kill his wife with it.
The pictures, so
and I think. Oh
no, go ahead.
I was just thinking that I think that he saw this vision of him killing his wife. I think that he still might do that. They seem to be, and I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't know what you got mapped out for 7.
I have a note called Marcus versus everyone. So yes,
Well,
that's one of my notes.
not just everyone, but his own wife, because she's trying to escape. She's trying to go to the tropical zone, which we talked about that, Brian. I don't know what that means, but she wants to go there. And finally, he just said, "We're not going anywhere." So now she's going to try and get Paul safe, and she's not going to feel like Marcus is helping that. But does that mean that he's going to see her as opposition and try to take her out? Because now he feels like he's the prophesized one. He's the one that the prophecy is about.
So you have, let's go on that real quick. You have Mother, who believes she's on some kind of divine quest her creator has set for her. You have Marcus, who absolutely now, based on the ending of episode 7, feels he is in fact on a divine quest. You have Campion, who doesn't necessarily seem like he's set on a divine quest, but now seems to be creating his own version of his own thing, but feels he has a purpose and in a thing he needs to do and accomplish. And then you also have the church itself, which is very curious how Marcus is going to play that out, because he has to be very critical. He can't just tell them who he is,
Well, and they were following Paul. Remember, them building that temple and stuff was because Paul said he saw something. So are they going to start seeing it? Because the one female cleric said something about how sometimes the prophecies are wrong. Paul's got both of his parents, but maybe he was the one the prophecy was about. So now it's like, holy shit.
Because she was questioning whether they mistranslated something, because they're like, well, he built this whole city, and and I don't see a lot of evidence there as far as their little theory, but it fits the mold of what they want the reality to be. So they're like, oh, he saw this in his dreams, this city, and he built it, and he's got a name for it and everything, and he's got it mapped out where everyone's gonna live, and etc. So he must be the prophesized one. He's like, yeah, he's a kid using his imagination. Of course he.
And then they build a church around his structure that he created.
Right.
So they clearly are looking at him as the one. What did you think about, there were several things, but 2 in particular I'm going to point out. There were 2 moments that occurred that were very, I don't want to use the word magical, but they sort of were. The mouse coming out of the structure he constructed, and the second being the pictures.
Go
ahead.
Well, I want to say about the mouse. Did you, if I'm recalling right, correct me if I'm wrong, the mouse.
You're wrong.
When the mouse died or disappeared when it fell in one of those holes, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And the only character that we've seen come back that's died so far, or at least the only human, we assume fell into one of those pits.
Yeah, Tally. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be my guess that it's either it's a projection of whatever creature lives in those pits, or in those pits, or if they assimilate your body somehow. I'm not sure which, but it's clearly whatever lives in those pits.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not saying there's magic in their world, but they're clearly starting to do things that would be perceived that way, like
right.
The paintings or the pictures are the big one. Originally, when Mother was freaking out and everything, my assumption is that figure that's cloaked drew them. But then we get the one scene where the girl comes in, and literally a force of nature comes in and wipes it clean or burns it off. So I'm like, oh shit. There's actually, and then of course the stuff where Campion is in the shed thing, we're seeing all kind of crazy stuff. So whatever this is, has, abilities to manipulate physical objects, not just the mind, basically.
Well, I think of, and I just thought of this, Alien is a big Ridley Scott property, How there was Alien versus Predator. Who's to say that it's not necessarily like a force or it's invisible, but it's somebody who's able to kind of maybe cloak themselves or, not necessarily turn invisible as far as, magically, but through some kind of active camouflage or
Oh, I see what you're
chameleon
saying.
type thing. Like they've adapted to try to, because whatever this is, whether it's AI, somebody, a former maybe civilization that was perhaps wiped out by the big worm things that died. I think that whatever this is may have adapted to try and protect itself from the creatures and things that were on this planet at that time.
The Tempest was very unhappy. She was obviously not into the church. She just thinks there's a lot of BS. But then obviously she was violated in a very horrible way, and that sticks with her. There's a scene where she talks about nightmares. She has a lot of little scenes sprinkled throughout. I am very curious to see where her story arc's going to go. Unfortunately, it looks like it might be going in a really messed up direction, possibly because we never really saw what happened to the prisoner.
Right.
And I went back and checked, and it's very unclear what happened during the attack with Mother. Is he out in those woods? And we're left where she's out in the woods. And could he be out there? What is the? And I brought that up. I think in the last video. What is the purpose of his character even at this point? I am curious, but I have no idea where that's going.
I think that it's not necessarily a plot device, but I think it's something that we're going to find out, because if we're going to find out at all what's going on this planet, it's got to happen soon. Unless they're saving it for season 2 or something, we're going to have to find out soon. So perhaps, the prisoner, assailant, or whatever sees her and tries to come after her, but the parkour ninja either saving her, killing him, or one of the creatures come to protect her because she's a mother. I think that it's a plot device, but I think it's a plot device to help us figure out what the fuck's going on this planet as far as I don't know, beings go.
Anything, Larry, on anything going on with Tempest?
With Tempest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, with her being trapped in the woods with a guy, it's hard to say what's going to happen. And I mean, her plot line overall has been a stressful one. I mean, shit, she might lose it and kill the guy, honestly, with the fact that she spent the entire series being pushed around or told, oh, you have to do this because you're a mother, or you need to do this because you're a mother, or just in general being treated shitty throughout the series. Like we saw the oldest kid with the 80s hairdo. What's his name? Y'all remember his name?
The oldest. You talking about Hunter?
Is that the clerics kid?
Yes, Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hunter.
Even he was treating her
80s
crappy. I mean, it is a very 80s haircut. Like, but even he was treating her crappy towards the beginning. So, she might. It may not turn out the way we think. She might lose it. She might wind up killing him in the woods. I mean, and at that we've seen earlier, like we've established that Tempest is, if any of them are gonna hunt and kill, it's Tempest.
I just thought of something. Remember, and I didn't want to. I know you'll bring this up again, Brian, when Father rescues Mother or whatever. But when those two are talking, she tells him, "Hey, go get the kids. I'll be back." And then they never say what she's going to do. Remember, she's came and saved Tempest before because she knew Tempest was in danger. So perhaps it's her that's going to end up saving Tempest, not
Tempest
herself, or what I was just saying, like it's a plot device to get the creatures to come save her or something. I think it might be Mother that saves her.
That's a good point.
And
Now
that's
that
a great point. I didn't even think of that. That would also answer one of my previous questions. It seems like there's two opposing forces because why would in one moment Mother is guided to save, and in the other, um, all these they want Mother to give up on humanity and everyone to die. So I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Marcus spares Mother only because the voices in his head tell him to. He's going to cut her head off, and he doesn't. And this leads to a lot of issues with him and his wife. She's fed up with him. She thinks that a lot of this stuff is going to his head. She doesn't understand why he's sparing Mother. She doesn't understand why he doesn't stick to their original plan and just get up and go. And like you said, Spencer, that vision may actually, in fact, happen. Maybe he'll be the one that kills her. Maybe it's going to go in that direction. By the end of episode 7, I would say those two are arguably enemies at that point, unless she completely changes, her thoughts.
I don't think she'll change her thoughts. She may outwardly change her appearance, but it would only be to basically keep him at bay, let him kind of feel as though he's winning so he doesn't snap it and lose his shit on her. Because she can kind of feel that he's off. Like,
Yeah.
she can tell that something's changed, that something's changing, his focus. And I think she does kind of think it's going to his head, but she doesn't understand why. She doesn't understand what this change is within him. And she's trying to figure it out all the while still trying to protect Paul. And, when they spent 13 years in this simulation, basically being around this kid, now she has a severe motherly nurturing attachment to him, which is, another parallel when we talk about Mother. Mother is, protecting all the children, even the children she just stole from the ship after she killed everybody. She's still trying to protect them, and her programming is telling her to love them. But Sue is acting the same way, and I think that is going to be the tipping point where Marcus is going to do something stupid, and she is going to try and either stop him or fight him. And I think that vision still may come true.
Well, yeah, and it's clear that she doesn't want to be a member of this group at all, and I think that'll be the thing that causes them to butt heads to some degree. That basically, he's gonna because he sees the prophecy as a real thing now, and she doesn't see it that way. So, I feel like it's gonna come to a point where she sees him as being fully ingrained in this religion that she wants no part of, and she's going to try and take their kid and leave, and that may be where they butt heads. Because she refused to, adapt or even pretend to be anybody, and I can understand that if they weren't literally the last few people on Earth. You want to, it's like you want to leave and what? Go be 3 people until you die, and then the kid lives on his own in the temperate zone by himself, running from the rest of the tribe.
Yeah, Marcus makes a lot of logical points in the episode with their arguments. Even his excuse for keeping her alive, which he did say a line of dialogue, which was the first time I've heard anyone say this in the show: the idea or the possibility of there being other people out there. He voices that concern. What if another ship comes, or what if we have to fight someone? She's a secret weapon. We would have, because I would say with their technology, it would be shocking if there weren't other colonies, ships, space stations, Mars base, whatever out in space, and he acknowledges that in this episode. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to mention that when we talked earlier, I had a funny, not really fully backed up theory, but it was something that I thought was silly that, Planet Hulk, they all were trying to send, Bruce Banner to this, this outward world, but he gets sucked into this place, and so does Silver Surfer, and so do all these other people, where they're trying to trap them on this planet. What if this AI is basically trying to start like a new civilization, and that's how they all ended up at this Kepler 22, but it's not really the Kepler 22. It's a different planet that they all thought that they were on, that they're getting drawn to by this AI that's basically trying to repopulate this planet. And that would also explain, like a old civilization that's been there forever. And regardless of what planet this is, you look at our past civilizations, you look at the Roman Empire, the Aztecs, the Mayans, like all these different things that kind of raised and then crashed. What happens if there was a civilization on this planet that raised and crashed, and this AI or this godlike being or whatever is the evolution of what's left?
Well, yeah, because it could be this.
World.
I think we insinuated something similar last week. Well, not necessarily not necessarily a battle world scenario, but the idea that maybe they're being manipulated by a greater force, like the religion was even created by a greater force that put these ideas in their heads. Because, that's right, there'll be a giant shining city on a hill, and you guys will all go there, and you'll build it for me, for I am Soul. And it's just in their heads, manipulating them, making them think that it's a godlike being. It could be that.
There were some amazing scenes. There were only a couple, and in the course of the whole show so far, there's literally been like 3, where Marcus faces off Mother, and those two work really well together. And the way that she's able to get under his skin, and the way that she's able to relay that, and the way he's able to relay it bothering him when he walks out of that cabin and is upset. I swear I felt like I forgot he was it was a show for a minute and thought this guy was pissed. Like it was just really well played in the way she looked at him, like, fuck you. And he's just like, she doesn't know about me. She doesn't know who I am, And the way he came out, I was like, and they both, they killed it in those exchanges. We got, like I said, we got a couple of them in this episode. Plus, obviously when he's trying to kill her, there's the scene where she's spouting off who he really is, and he tells Father to shut her up. But I love those characters together. Not sure if we'll get a whole lot more of that at all. Hopefully we do. What did y'all think of their interactions?
Yeah, that was neat, and I figured as advanced and intelligent as Mother is, I kind of figured that's how she would play that whole thing, that she'd try to play mind games with him to get him to slip up or doubt himself in some way.
I thought it was great, the dialogue itself, because I mentioned that to you at work today, Brian. Like I said, the best scenes in 7 were the dialogue between Mother and Marcus. Like, it was brilliantly done. And then when she was laying on the sled and he was trying to carry her away, and she was basically trying to out him, all he could think of was Jim Carrey and Liar Liar. Like, when he was like, the pen is blue. Like, he's trying to stop himself from talking, but he can't. Like, he's like, shut up. Oh, these androids will do anything to save themselves. And she's just so monotonely just, he's not who he says he is. He's really an atheist. He's all I could think of was Jim Carrey, and it had me like laughing. But how well they played it, it was like, oh shit! Like it was that feeling of, is he going to get caught? Is someone going to find out that he's full of shit? Which I'm pretty sure that guy already
Lucius
knows. Yeah, Lucius already knows, because he
seems to know something. Yeah.
He keeps quizzing him about him and his dad, and Marcus doesn't know any of the answers. And it seems as though he at least knows something's up. No, it doesn't mean that he cares. But I feel like
Lucius knows, and he cares, and he's he's devout. Well, I mean, I don't feel like he knows. I feel like deep down he knows, but that he's denying it because of his faith. And he's seen a lot of crap while he's been on this island, and he has a lot of faith in this man, and he thinks like, well, he may legitimately be, the man who should be in charge of our religion. And he's the whole thing with the ship where it just burnt dude, and now he's literally, as far as they know, hearing the voice of their god. So maybe he has doubts to some degree, but I think his faith is sort of trumping that right now, and they'll get to a point where there's so much evidence, I'm sure, that he won't be able to deny it.
Well,
I think something's a little off.
Well, I think regardless of whether or not he feels like he's Marcus, I still think that he feels he is that chosen one. So regardless of whether he's Marcus or not, he still feels like this guy was chosen. So I think that he's trying to figure out who he really is, but I don't think that he'll lose faith in Marcus, because Marcus has proven in his eyes, he's proven that he's the chosen one. So
right.
Regardless of who Caleb is, he doesn't care. He's just like, fuck it. This guy is, basically shown that he is the chosen one.
And I feel like that would probably, like, their only real issue may be the clerics with that. Like, if he reveals himself and the things he's done so far, the clerics will be the only real problem, because, those are the ones who weren't willing to fall in line in the first place. When they made him the head of their religion, because they're like, this is against all our traditions, just deciding that he's his eminence.
Yeah, it goes against their line of succession. Yeah, completely. And the warriors don't rule. They literally have a class for that. It's the church, that truly rules. So, father is, shot up. He's betrayed by Hunter. Then he's reprogrammed to serve. He's no longer father, but we discover he sort of is. His fingers twitching the whole episode 7. It's like basically father trying to get through, and he I love that he uses one finger to save mother. That was sort of funny to me. That was the one piece he could sort of control, and he uses it, and mother is spared in the end when Marcus tries to kill her.
Go
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I was curious about that because I noticed the tapping, and from the beginning where I think it lingers on Hunter looking at him, and he's tapping on the glass. I was wondering if he was, maybe communicating via Morse code or something. Like,
I think he was playing a song. I think it was like
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yes. No, really.
I'm saying, because that's what Tempest was playing.
That's true. I didn't think of that. You might be right. I have to go back now and see if you might be right. Before we get to that final, when Marcus fights Shadow Link,
Shadow Marcus.
Yeah. With the fact that we're matching each other's moves and everything, I thought that was great. And then, he's I'm assuming he stabbed himself. That's my assumption, is it was in his mind, fighting himself, literally. But
I thought
yet again, I don't know anymore.
Some of the things you said today have made me doubt that.
I agree. They're like I said, the picture being wiped away the way it was showed me that whatever this is can physically do things. It's not just in the mind. So I don't know. But going back real quick, the Campion, when they were trying to get him to convert to their religion, get baptized or whatever they were trying to do, they yet again go into the whole idea that Campion's creating his own shit, his own religion. They desecrated those graves, and it infuriated him. And it wouldn't have, mother and father, I don't think, would have really cared. Obviously, the Church of Soul doesn't care because they're like, well, they were atheists, screw them. But it bothers the hell out of him. And there's a scene that sets this up a little earlier where he's burying the bones, I think it was episode 6, of an animal that had died. And Paul is telling him there's no point in doing that. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. And that goes to his whole everything has a soul speech. So Campion, like I said, Campion is forming his own belief structure. And I am very curious to where that specifically is going.
Well, yeah, and he would have played along. He seemed like he was willing to, go, okay, I accept Saul, do the whole ritual and everything until that moment, because that was such a violation of, his core beliefs. Because they were basically telling him, if you're not us, if you don't believe the whole thing, everything we believe in, you're not a person. So, until you accept soul, you're not a person. And neither were your brothers and sisters who died. And so that's what really gets is the defilement of those graves. And yeah, exactly, because they just kind of use the headstones to build, and yeah, I think that would literally piss off anybody. And they go, doesn't matter, they're atheists. They're not
building
people.
their church on top of what he considers sacred ground,
Right.
and on the bodies of his siblings, and
Well, I
and
think
like you said, he snapped.
I think, like you said, Larry, that and Brian both, the fact that they said that they were atheists and they don't have a soul anyway, so it doesn't matter, is the straw that broke the camel's back. Because I think that if they would have just been like, you know what, we didn't realize what they were, we're sorry, Campion, we will make them new ones, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, he would have been like, okay, like they're being, empathetic or sympathetic. But the fact that they're just like, oh, fuck those guys, they're soulless, they are soulless atheists.
Yeah, if they had even said that, oh well, there's a proper burial, ceremony in our religion, we'll show it to you, and we'll make them proper graves. He may have accepted that even.
Yeah, it's that arrogance, the well, fuck you kind of attitude that cleric showed that let him know that this was not the right thing for him to do.
Right.
What do you think about Paul and all of that? Paul, even through that, seemed upset, but he seems to be very down with Soul and with their teachings, and it is interesting that character who seems like initially like just sort of a good kid, but his beliefs will seem to guide him, and I wonder if he'll do things that would be questionable.
Because his religion tells him it's
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look at any kid who has been told that this one way was the right way, and not even just religious. I'm looking at anything. You look at sports or school, or trying to figure out a math problem. This is the one where you look at Common Core math now here in the U.S. Like, it is the most ass backwards way of doing a math problem, but that's how they're teaching kids to do it. So me as a parent, like, trying to show a kid how to do that kind of problem, holy shit, like, how many circles and squares equal 13? I don't know. Like,
oh God, I hate that so much.
So it's he's been told his whole life that this is the way that they're doing things. This is the way that they're doing things. So even if he in his heart of hearts is like, you know what, this is kind of messed up, his kind of programming as a human, as a kid, he's not at that age yet where he's really questioning things. As smart as Paul has shown that he is, he's not really questioning anything. You look at Campion, who from day one was like, this doesn't seem right. He's questioning everything, and Paul is almost that polar opposite, where he's just almost blindly following, even if he feels it's a little bit wrong.
After the ending of episode 7 leaves us with Marcus, horribly wounded, going back, Sue apparently she's going to stitch him up. She wants to leave. He basically declares, I'm the chosen one. And Mother goes off. She tells Father, I'll come back for you. We don't know where she's going. We don't know what her plan is, but she's escaping. And that's where we're left. 6 and 7, like I said, both had sort of cliffhanger endings. It's obvious to me at this point that this show was not meant to be 2 a week. I just don't think it was. But that's where we're at with it. I believe next week we're only going to get one episode, and then it'll, I'm assuming, close with two, or maybe they'll space it for 3 weeks. Who knows? They've not been real clear with their release schedule on this show. But the way this particular episode ends, yet again, no preview. Where do you think we pick up next episode? Do we jump right into this? Do we follow Mother? Do we follow both groups? We're at a weird point where you arguably could even do a time jump if you wanted to. Not a massive one, but a little one.
Yeah. I was gonna say you do your time jump, and Campion has a beard.
So yeah,
those were a rough couple years.
Where does it go?
I think that whether they start with Mother or not, this is the part I was talking about where I think she's going to rescue Tempest. I think that, Tempest get lost. She's out in the middle of the woods. And I think whatever was telling her to save Tempest the first time is telling her to do it again. And I think that will be a reveal part of what's going on as far as either the high cleric guy or, rescues her from whatever beasts are kind of roaming around this area. I also think that Marcus's storyline will progress too, because as he's healing, I don't know, he's already seeing visions and literally fighting himself and symbolically freeing himself of Caleb. Or I don't know. That's what it felt like, but who fucking knows? But I imagine he's going to have a whole bunch more visions as he's healing from sepsis and everything else from a gut wound. It's going to be rough. I think that's going to be the hardest part. I was trying to decipher what the fuck's going on with Marcus throughout the next episodes as he's healing up.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good point. He could be healing for a while, and while that happens, and this may be where the divide is. His wife may choose to enact the original plan and run off with Paul. Yeah, I feel like that's a possibility because he's injured. He couldn't really stop her himself at this point, and no one's going to question her walking around the camp or just leaving to say she's going to do a thing. While he's unconscious and healing.
I need this tree herb to rub on his wound or something like it.
She'll just be like, I'm going for a walk. And they'll be like, well, we'll leave it alone because this is His Eminence's wife. Like we saw today when she's like, we're going in. And they're like, but his order, like, we're going in. And the other guy was like, protect her at all costs. And they all went in and they died because she decided to go after Paul. So they're going to let her do what she wants.
I said at the top. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I'm not saying they're going to let her say, I'm leaving, I'm going for the temperate zone. But if she's like, yeah, we're going to go forage in the woods, they're going to be like, well, okay, be safe. Or they might recommend that she takes a guard with her or something at the most. But they're going to let her go.
I think I covered all the major bases. Is there anything that you guys can think of that I forgot? I'm just going to be honest. We do a lot of videos on this channel. I love this show, but I despise doing these these reviews. It's the structure. It's just a pain in the ass. It just really is. You're taking two episodes that are designed as a 3-act structure with an A usually and a B plot, and you're trying to jam them together and discuss both of them together. It's I don't like it.
Yeah,
but that's how they decided to release this show. But yeah, did I forget anything? Can you guys think of anything?
I don't really think anything big was missed. I think going forward, we're going to get a lot of what's going on, maybe some of the vision stuff. But I think that you structured the review well enough to kind of cover the big portions. I do find a couple things interesting, like the mouse, the wormhole things is what I'm calling them, not because the giant worm skeleton reptile snake thing. I am curious as to, if those are basically like the well in Gravity Falls, where they just keep falling for forever,
What?
and then they get like shot back up. Like,
What's the mouse in is it Mr. Jingles in the Green Mile?
yes,
That's Mr. Jingles. He's like an immortal mouse.
yeah, man, because Mr. Coffee.
Yep. Gave him the magic.
But I think that perhaps it didn't necessarily come back to life, but maybe whatever that entity was saved it when he thought it died, and he brought it back and dropped it off just kind of as a little show to Paul to try and manipulate Paul.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. We haven't yet seen any of we haven't actually seen any of the characters who are reappearing that we previously thought dead. We haven't seen any of them die. There's no case where a body's been recovered, so we don't know if these characters actually have died. The mouse or the girl that fell in the pit.
Tali.
Tali. Yeah, she could have fell in the pit. She could have been, like you said, rescued by one of those creatures. Assimilated into their group, or maybe it's because it looks like there's spores drifting out of those pits, so maybe it's I don't know, a sentient fungus or something, man.
Well, hallucinogen, like it's
it could be that too, but it's seeming very much like whatever is being affected by it is alive and well, maybe not well, but alive or or being used for illusions or trickery or something.
Yeah.
But it seemed like spores.
Your biggest fear. All right. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think so. So cool. Well, we'll talk to y'all next time.
I have one more thing. No, I'm just playing.
Like I said, we got going. The Boys review will be going up this weekend at some point. I don't know when, but it's gonna go up this weekend. Lovecraft Country on Sunday night, definitely. And like I said, a lot of new content will be coming very soon. Thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.